Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Timeout. I'm your host, Rob Slevon.
And I'm your co-host, Seth Gardner. Today we will be previewing college football Week 5.
Alright, so we're going to jump right into it, and we're only going to be previewing games with top 25 teams present in them. So let's start Friday, September the 27th. We have number 12, Penn State, traveling to Maryland. This game is at 8 p.m. on FS1. Penn State is 6.5-point favorites. Seth?
Yeah, so Big Ten East matchup here. Both teams coming off a bye last week. However, Maryland the week before that lost to Temple. They really started the season off strong on offensive side of things, but last week weren't able to get it done. Penn State, on the other hand, coming off a close win against rival Pittsburgh. So that was an impressive win to come out the gate for them. Interesting because both those teams, Pittsburgh and Penn State, won't play for a while, so that might be the last you see of that rivalry for a while. I think this is going to be a close game, but I think that Penn State pulls away with it in the end. I think they win by 2 touchdowns.
Okay, for me, who I think is going to win this game, it kind of depends on what Maryland offense we see. Are we going to see that high-flying offense that put up 79 against Howard and 63 against the ranked team in Syracuse? Or are we going to see that team that kind of laid a goose egg against Temple the week before their bye week?
Last week, yes.
Yeah. I think Penn State, I agree with you. I think Penn State's going to win this game. I think it'll be a touchdown scored kind of late in the game that'll seal this one for them.
Okay.
All right, moving on. The nightcap on Friday, 10:30 on ESPN. It's unranked Arizona State going to number 15 Cal. Cal, who's undefeated, favored to win by 4.5 points. And, man, first time in the top 25 in a long time for Cal.
Yes, I believe over 10 years, first time in the top 25. California coming off a huge win against Ole Miss, able to get it done against an SEC opponent. Arizona State, however, on the other hand, lost last week to Colorado, 34-31. That was a close game, but weren't able to get it done there. Arizona State, earlier though, they beat Michigan State, who's now ranked again. I think this is going to be a close game, but I'll take Cal at home. I'll take them by a touchdown.
Okay. I agree. I think Cal wins this game. I think it'll be of a field goal scored late. Arizona State has looked impressive this year. Of course, getting that overtime road win at Michigan State in Week 1. That was a big statement game for them. That was a big win.
Defensive struggle game. They were able to get it done.
But I think Cal rides this wave of momentum they have. I think they win this.
Yep.
All right, moving on. We have Texas Tech traveling to number 6 Oklahoma. This is 12 p.m. on Fox. Oklahoma is 27-point favorites to win this game, and honestly, I think this game is pretty close to the spread. What do you think?
I think this is going to be closer, actually, than the spread. I don't think that Texas Tech is too bad here on the offensive side of things. I think that Oklahoma maybe wins by 2 touchdowns. I think this is going to be a little bit closer. Oklahoma has struggled on defense. I think this is going to be a shootout game, but I think that Oklahoma ultimately gets it done here.
Okay.
So.
I think they will as well. Like I said, I think it gets pretty close to the spread, maybe 3 or 4 touchdowns Oklahoma wins by.
Yes.
Of course, Jalen Hurts, transferring from Alabama, has looked very impressive so far this year. A Heisman candidate in his first year as a transfer. And, I think Oklahoma definitely gets this done.
Yeah, this is his team now. This is what he wanted. Here's his opportunity.
Exactly. Moving on, we have Northwestern at number 8 Wisconsin. This game is at 12 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. Wisconsin favored by 24.5 points.
Yep.
Northwestern, who made it to the Big Ten Championship last year, lost to Ohio State, and Wisconsin coming off that big win to Michigan last week.
Yes, Wisconsin, big win over Michigan. Really looked great on the side on offense and defense. Able to rush the ball very well, even with their star running back Jonathan Taylor getting hurt. It'll be interesting to see if he plays in this game. I believe we don't know yet. I think that Wisconsin gets it done here. I think that they win big. If Jonathan Taylor plays, I think it's bigger, but if he doesn't play, it might be closer than people think. Northwestern could hang in there for a little while. Northwestern coming off a loss against Michigan State. I think Wisconsin gets it done here. I'll take them by 3 touchdowns here.
I'm going to take Wisconsin as well. I think they cover the 24.5 point spread that they were given. I think they win this kind of in the 30s-ish. A little off week for their offense, who has played great out of the gate. And man, that number 8 looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
A lot of people kind of were sleeping on Wisconsin coming into this season, but they've looked impressive as hell so far. All right, moving on. We have Middle Tennessee State traveling to number 14 Iowa. This game is at 12 p.m. on ESPN2. Iowa favored by 23 points to win this game.
Yeah, another powerhouse team out of the Big Ten East, Iowa. It'll be interesting to see later down the road who wins that side of the conference, Iowa or Wisconsin. I believe it's between them two. Right now, Nebraska might sneak in there a little bit, but I think ultimately who runs the show, Iowa and Wisconsin, is between them. I think that Iowa definitely gets it done here. I don't think that Middle Tennessee has a chance. I think Iowa controls the line of scrimmage here and wins a grinded out game. I think they hold Middle Tennessee State to 0 points here.
Okay. Bold prediction there. Iowa, coming into this year, they have 2 new starting tight ends as TJ Hawkinson and Noah Fant. Both got drafted in the top 20 of last year's draft. They also have a very good offensive line that they've been building throughout the past couple of years.
Yes.
Iowa is for sure a definitely grinded out team. They'll put those big bodies on you and they will make you tired, gasping for air. And I think Middle Tennessee State will not be able to hang with that grittiness at all from Iowa.
Yeah,
I think this is a big win.
Just because Iowa might not put that many points on the board here does not mean that they didn't control the game here. So I think Iowa controls this game and wins.
Definitely. Sure. I think they will cover the 23-point spread they were given as well. All right, moving on, we have Rutgers traveling to number 20, Michigan. Michigan coming off of that loss to Wisconsin, that big loss to Wisconsin.
Yes.
This game is at 12 p.m. on the Big Ten Network. Michigan favored by 27.5 points, which I think is a little bit high for the way Michigan's looked this season. And honestly, I don't know if Michigan should be ranked at this point. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm there with you. I don't think Michigan has done anything really so far to be ranked. They struggled against Army. They struggled against Western Michigan. And last week, we all know what happened against Wisconsin, a big blowout there.
Yeah.
On offensive side of things, they haven't been able to get it done. Looks like McCaffrey's going to be hurt this game, but it looks like Patterson will play this game. So I think Michigan, there's a little bit of hope there with Patterson playing, but I don't know. Michigan later down the road, they might get it done. I think they will get it done here against Rutgers. I think they'll come out angry, but later down the road, Jim Harbaugh is on the hot seat for sure.
Yeah. I think Michigan is given a 27.5-point spread, so basically 4 touchdowns is what they need to win by in order to have this a successful game, I guess, according to Vegas. But I think Michigan again struggles. Rutgers has not looked terrible this season. They're coming off a 14-point loss to Boston College. That 1-2 record can be a little bit deceiving, as well as their pass can be. But I think Michigan will win this game, but I think it'll only be about a 2-touchdown win.
Okay.
All right, moving on. We have number 23, Texas A&M, traveling to in-conference rival Arkansas. This game is at 12 p.m. on ESPN. A&M is favored by 23.5 to win this game. Both teams are 2-2 coming into this game.
Yeah, honestly, in my personal opinion, I don't think Texas A&M deserves to be ranked at this point, at least, because they lost to Clemson, weren't able to really do anything against Clemson on the offensive side of things, and they lost to Auburn in almost the same circumstances. So I think they definitely need to improve on the offensive side of things. Defense hasn't been too shaky so far. I think they do get it done here. I think they cover the spread.
First off, kind of getting a little bit off the game a little bit. I think 23 is about where Texas A&M belongs. They had kind of a non-favorable schedule coming into the year, as 3 of their first 4 games were against ranked opponents. Scratch that actually. 2 of their 4 games were against ranked opponents, Clemson and Auburn, which they both lost. But they only lost to Auburn by 8 points. I think Texas A&M is about right where their team kind of matches up. 23rd in the top 25 is, I think, about where their team kind of stands in power rankings wise. But moving back towards the game, Texas A&M, I think they'll win this game. I don't think they'll cover the spread. I think they'll get very close, though. The spread is 23.5, and I think they'll win by probably about 21.
Razorbacks are hungry for an SEC win, but I don't think they get it this time.
I don't think they do either. Moving on, number 1 ranked Clemson with Trevor Lawrence at the helm, 4-0. He has not seen an answer since he came into college football after taking over for Kelly Bryant. They traveled to North Carolina, who got wins their first 2 games of the year, but ever since have kind of fallen off, losing to Appalachian State and Wake Forest after beating South Carolina and Miami. But this game's 3:30 on ABC. Clemson is 27-point favorites to win this game.
Yeah, Clemson hasn't played anybody this year, and in my personal opinion, I don't think they will play anybody. I mean, they played Texas A&M, kind of impressive win there. I don't know how good Texas A&M is this year, though. So that'll be interesting. Clemson coming off a big win against Charlotte. I mean, who really thought they were going to lose to Charlotte? I don't think that North Carolina has an answer, though, for Trevor Lawrence and this high-powered offense here. UNC was the victim to Appalachian State, who we all know upsets a lot of teams last week.
Cough, cough, Michigan.
Yeah.
A little while back.
Yeah. So I think Clemson covers the spread here and gets it done.
Okay, I'm going to agree with you. I think they definitely cover the spread as well. Clemson, who has had nobody has had an answer for Trevor Lawrence since he came in.
Nobody in the ACC.
Nobody in college football.
Well, yeah.
That we've seen so far. But North Carolina, coming off of 2 straight losses, I think their confidence is lacking, and Clemson will take advantage of that, winning this by 40-plus points.
Yep.
All right, moving on, we have Virginia, number 18 Virginia, visiting number 10 Notre Dame. This game is at 3:30 on NBC. Notre Dame is 12.5-point favorites after coming off that loss to Georgia.
Yeah, this should be a pretty good game here. Notre Dame really looked impressive in the first half against Georgia. Struggled in the fourth quarter, though, to finish out. Virginia, a team that hasn't been ranked in a while, and they're here in the top 25 this year. I think that Virginia, however, is a little overrated this year. I think the ACC in general is kind of weak, and we saw that with Syracuse. They were ranked high, and then they got blown out the water by Maryland. So I think that Notre Dame takes care of things here. I think that Ian Book, a really disappointing loss for him last week. I think he's hungry to get a win against Virginia.
Yeah, I agree. Notre Dame, who has looked good the past couple of years, Ian Book, it's been said that he can't really read defenses very well. Stuff like that. But I think he'll have an easy time reading Virginia's defense this week. I think he hands Virginia their first loss of the season. And Notre Dame, hungry for a win after losing to Georgia last week, comes off and covers the spread in this game.
I don't think Notre Dame's playoff chances are out the water yet, but they definitely need to win games like these.
Definitely. Okay, moving on, we have Ole Miss traveling to number 2 Alabama. This matchup has been quite the matchup in the past, going back to the Chad Kelly days for Ole Miss. But Alabama favored by 37.5 points. Vegas obviously doesn't think this will be a good game.
Yeah.
This game is 3:30 on CBS.
Yeah, past games, there's a history between this matchup, kind of a rivalry here. I don't think this one will be very close, though. I think Alabama and Tua are a little bit too much for the Rebels here. Ole Miss coming off a loss against California. Kind of a questionable loss, if you ask me. Looked like they got across the plane if you're a Rebel fan. But they didn't have a timeout to review it, so of course the refs didn't go to the review and they lost the game. That's just how it is sometimes. They took the L in the L column, so I don't think they get it done here. Alabama hasn't really played anybody yet, but I don't think this is a tough matchup for them. I think they control things here.
Yeah, kind of surprising to see that big spread as an in-conference matchup. Usually you don't see spreads like this, but I think Alabama will win this game. I don't think they'll cover the spread, though. I think it could be a 28-point win for Alabama. But, yeah. All right, we're going to move on. We have a good game, number 21 USC traveling to number 17 Washington. This game 3:30 on Fox. Washington is 10.5-point favorites to win this game. And, yeah.
My personal game of the week here, I think this is going to be a very good game here. It'll be interesting to see if the Trojans can carry that momentum over from the Utah game. Really impressive win last week. The Huskies, can they get it done at home? This would be a good win for them too. I think this is a very important game in the Pac-12. Who really wants to control the Pac-12 at this point? Yeah. I think it's either of these teams' chance.
Either one of these teams could control the Pac-12, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, USC, I don't really know what team we're going to see with them either. BYU kind of rolled over them.
Yeah,
and not really rolled over.
Washington killed BYU, and BYU killed USC. I think USC got BYU on a better day.
Definitely.
BYU is kind of up and down team, so yeah, I think that
Yeah,
in this game, I'll take the
see that.
Trojans to carry the momentum from that big win
I think
against
they
Utah.
will as well. I think the Trojans get this game by a field goal or touchdown. It's going to be very close to the wire. Definitely a game to tune into.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on. We have Indiana traveling to number 25 Michigan State, who's had problems at home so far this year. They're favored by 14 points to win. This game is at 3:30 on Big Ten Network.
Yeah, Indiana. Really, can they compete with the other teams in the Big Ten East? They've gotten better over the course of the past 5 years. They've been really competitive in that side of the conference. But Michigan State, coming off a win against Northwestern last week, able to get it done on the road, get back on page, really, after that loss against Arizona State. They kind of struggled on the offensive side of things, so I think they'll look to put a lot of points on the board here, but I don't think they will. I think this is going to be a very low-scoring game. I wouldn't be surprised if Indiana snuck it out in the fourth quarter, but I'm going to take Michigan State.
Yeah. This is a kind of a tough game to pick. Indiana only losing one game, of course, to Ohio State, and Michigan State losing at home to
Arizona State.
Yeah, at the beginning of the year. I think, bold prediction, I think Indiana takes this game. They've had a reputation in the past of being able to stay in the close games with those top-tier Big Ten teams, and Michigan State, who's kind of struggled a little bit this year, have 3 straight wins in their back pocket, but at home they haven't looked good. I think Indiana wins this game by a touchdown.
Okay.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, pause, or stay tuned for this quick announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are enjoying this video so far, please feel free to follow our Instagram and Twitter accounts. That's at the Timeout YT. We would also greatly appreciate it if you hit the subscribe and like button, hit that notification bell to find out when we upload, and comment down below to join the conversation. Thanks, and enjoy the rest of the video. All right, welcome back. We're going to get right back into it. So next up on the matchup sheet, we have Towson traveling to number 9 Florida. This game is at 4 p.m. on the SEC Network. Florida is favored by 36.5 points, which is less than Alabama is favored to beat in-conference rival Ole Miss. And
the biggest thing here is Florida's quarterback Felipe Franks being out, looks like, for the season.
Yeah.
And Kyle Frank coming in, who hasn't started since JV freshman year of high school, which is really interesting because he looked pretty impressive last week against Tennessee. They were able to get it done. Their offense honestly looked better than when they had Felipe Franks.
Honestly, yeah. Felipe Franks has been kind of shaky ever since he stepped in as Florida's quarterback.
So they're playing an FCS team in Towson. I think they blow out the spread a little bit. I think they win by like 40 plus maybe.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. Florida's second-string quarterback stepping in. He played well against Tennessee last year. Florida has looked very shaky so far this year. They squeaked out a close one against Miami week 1 and then Kentucky in week 3. Both good games, though, for Florida to have on their resume. But, Felipe Franks, going into him a little bit, ever since he stepped in last year as a freshman, true freshman as Florida's quarterback, he's looked so shaky. He hasn't really lived up to the hype that he was brought in to be. But, Florida, they've gotten wins all 4 of their games so far. They're 4-0. They've still got a chance to get in the college football playoff. And I think this is a good game to kind of get their second stringer settled in a little bit. And I think they'll win by more than 40 points, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Starting off with the nightcap, 7 p.m. on ESPN. We have Mississippi State traveling to number 7 Auburn. Auburn is favored by 10 points to win this game.
Yeah, Mississippi State coming off an impressive win against Kentucky last week. It'll be interesting to see if they can carry over some of that momentum into this game. I think this is going to be a closer game than many people maybe think on the outside. Mississippi State, not too bad of a team this year. Auburn, on the other hand, able to control things against Texas A&M and Oregon. But on the offensive side of things, they've been kind of shaky so far this year under Bo Nix. Maybe a little better against Texas A&M. But I think this game will be a statement if they can come out and put a lot of points on the board here. But honestly, I think this will be close. I think Auburn gets it done in the fourth quarter.
I'm going to pick Auburn to win this game. I think they will more than cover the spread in this game. Bo Nix, I think this is a breakout game for him. He's had some of the toughest opponents behind him already early in his college career. Of course, Texas A&M and Oregon, two of the prime programs
Yes.
in college football. And for Auburn, they're 4-0 as well. They also have a chance to get into the college football playoff as long as they don't lose. And Mississippi State, an in-conference rival, but I think they give Auburn no trouble today. I think Bo Nix has a big day, and Auburn wins by definitely more than 10 points.
I think it's close, but that's my opinion.
All right, moving on to a less close game. We have UConn traveling to number 22 UCF. UCF losing their first regular season game in over 3 years last week to Pitt. This game is at 7 p.m. on ESPN2. UCF favored by 42 points. This is the biggest spread of the week.
Yeah,
in the top 25.
UCF disappointing loss to Pittsburgh last week, close loss. Man, their hopes must be down. They were really looking to make a push for the playoffs this year, but looks like they're not going to be able to do that, of course, now with that loss to a not really that strong of an opponent. But I think they definitely get it done here. I think they're angry. I think that they put up a lot of points on the board against UConn, who has been a very shaky team on defense this year. UConn got killed by Indiana and also Illinois, and I think they will definitely get killed by UCF here, who is very angry.
Yeah, I agree. I think UCF wins by more than 42, which is the spread. UCF, they're kind of catching UCF on a bad week to play them. I mean, any week's a bad week to play UCF,
Yeah.
but coming off their first loss in over three regular season years, man, that'd be kind of rough for the team, especially going into UCF. I think they win this game big, and they more than cover the spread against UConn. All right, moving on. Next, we have Kansas State, number 24, traveling to Oklahoma State. This could be a big game, and it's not nationally televised. ESPN Plus, for all you subscribers out there. This game is at 7 p.m. on ESPN Plus. Oklahoma State favored by 4 points, coming off of a 6-point loss to Texas last week.
Yeah, Oklahoma State looked pretty impressive against Texas last week. I'm not going to lie. Kansas State ranked for the first time in a while here, but I don't think that they stay there. I think that Oklahoma State has enough firepower on the offensive side of things to beat the Kansas State Wildcats here. I think that they kind of steal their ranking place. I think that Oklahoma State will be ranked by this time next week.
Yeah, I agree. I think Oklahoma State kind of blows Kansas State out of the water. Maybe like a 10 or 15-point win. Just like a statement win
Yes.
for Oklahoma
yes.
State, who has looked impressive this year. Their only loss, of course, to Texas last week, and it was a very close game. I'm surprised they're not ranked already as they are. But
Yeah.
I think Oklahoma State wins this game and covers the spread against Kansas State, who probably won't be ranked next week. All right, moving on now to primetime football, 7:30 on ABC. We have number 5 Ohio State traveling to Nebraska. Ohio State favored by 17 points, but these types of games for Ohio State have been a struggle in the past. These night games on the road against Big Ten teams that are kind of unranked. I know it's kind of specific, but it's been a trouble for the Buckeyes in the past years.
Yes, this will for sure be a test for the Buckeyes. Nebraska coming off a really close win against Illinois, 42-38. The Buckeyes coming off a huge win against Miami, who is not that strong of an opponent. Ohio State has not really seen a tough opponent this year. This will definitely be the first real test for them. Night game at Nebraska. Those fans in Lincoln will be fired up and ready to go. I think that Nebraska will get a little bit of boost from their fans. The Ohio State defense definitely has to look out for the quarterback for Nebraska, Martinez, who's a really shifty guy. They got to contain him looking into this game. It'll be interesting if they do.
Yeah, definitely. Justin Fields, who has looked very good coming in to his transfer season, his first year at Ohio State. He's, I believe, 3rd in the Heisman rankings so far after the first 4 weeks. This could be a big test for him. Primetime football. The Buckeyes play about, I think it's 5 straight primetime games between ABC and FS1 against Northwestern in 2 weeks on Friday night. But for Justin Fields and the Ohio State team, this is a statement game that they need to more than win by the spread in this game.
Yes.
I think this could be a very close game, maybe tied at halftime around there. But I think Ohio State kind of opens it up in the third quarter, kind of does what they're supposed to do in this game and wins it.
Yes, big stretch for the Buckeyes coming up. A lot of primetime games. This one will be the first real test for them. I think that this is a close game going into half, even maybe through the third quarter. I think that Ohio State runs away with it in the fourth, however, and they win by 2 touchdowns.
All right, and our final game of Saturday, the nightcap game that you probably should definitely tune into. Washington State coming off of a big loss to UCLA last week, who got their first win of the season, 67-63. The score in that one. Man, defense was not even apparent in that game at all.
What a game, though.
Yeah, I know. Definitely a game for the fans.
Yeah.
They traveled to number 19 Utah. Both teams were 3-1. Utah favored by 6 points to win this game. Again, 10 p.m. on FS1.
Yeah, Utah coming off a loss against USC, kind of a disappointing loss for them. Both teams kind of looked shaky on the defensive side of things last week. Washington State, of course, a really grinded out game against UCLA down to the wire, but weren't able to get it done in the end. I think Utah is angry this week after that loss, and I think that they kind of shut down Washington State here and win big.
Yeah, I think Utah's angry, but I definitely think Washington State is more angry. I still have Utah winning this game, but it could definitely be a game for the ages. The times I've tuned into Utah, when they're playing at home, they have looked impressive at home in the past a lot, and I haven't tuned into Utah very much, but a lot of the games they've been ranked against ranked opponents, they've kind of blown it out of the water at home. I think Utah wins this game. I think they cover the spread as well.
Yeah, it's an important game for Utah to get back in the mix of searching for a Pac-12 championship here, so it'll be interesting to see if they can get that done. And Washington State, too, still in that mix with Cal and Arizona State and Colorado. All those teams right in there.
All right, so we're going to go down the list now for each of the time games. Like we'll do the Friday night games. We'll do 12 noon, 3:30, and 7:30, or 7 around there. In each of those zones, we'll pick one game that you should tune into if your team's not playing, of course. Starting with Friday, I think the Arizona State Cal game is definitely a game to watch, even though it's a nightcap game, 10:30 on ESPN. If you got nothing to do, that could be a good game to watch because Arizona State has looked impressive this year, and Cal has also looked impressive this year.
Yeah, I think that is, too, my game of the night. I'm definitely going to tune into that myself. Both teams look very impressive this year, especially on the defensive side of things. I think this is going to be a very low-scoring game, but it'll be interesting to see.
All right, moving to 12 noon. A lot of good games on the slate, but the game I'm going to go with that you should watch is number 23 Texas A&M traveling to Arkansas. Both teams are 2-2. Texas A&M has only lost to ranked opponents so far this season. I think this could be a good game as well, an in-conference matchup for both these teams. 12 p.m. on ESPN. Texas A&M is favored by 23.5 points, but I don't think it'll be a 23.5 point game.
I'm going to take Texas Tech versus Oklahoma. I think this is going to be a closer game than the spread tells us. I think Texas Tech will be able to put a lot of points on the board against Oklahoma, but I think Oklahoma will get it done. This will be a shootout game.
All right, 3:30 now. There's multiple good games at 3:30. We have 18 Virginia at 10 Notre Dame. There's also the Washington USC game that could be good. I'm personally going to pick the Virginia Notre Dame game that you should tune into. 3:30 on NBC. Notre Dame is favored by 12.5, but Notre Dame coming in angry off of that Georgia game.
Yes.
This could be a very good game as Virginia has not lost yet this year.
Yeah, for my personal game of the week, honestly, I'm going to take USC and Washington. I think this is a very important game for who wants to control the Pac-12 here and push for a title. I think this will be a very good game, down to the wire.
All right, and finally, 7:30. I'm going to pick the Ohio State-Nebraska game. Even though Ohio State's 5th and Nebraska's unranked, Nebraska's only lost one time this year. Ohio State only favored by 17 points. This game's on ABC. Big Ten games on the road for Ohio State. Night games have been a big problem for them in the past.
Yes.
And I think this could be another troublesome game for the Buckeyes, and this could be a close one.
Yeah, test for the Buckeyes, but I also want to remind you guys, keep an eye on this Kansas State-Oklahoma State game. This will be a pretty good game. I think this will be a very high-scoring game here. Both offenses will put a lot of points on the board. Not much defense in this game. It'll be interesting to see who kind of runs the table under Oklahoma in the Big 12.
All right,
and Texas, of course.
To cap this episode off, we're going to go through the top 25 rankings, pick one team through the first 4 weeks that people might be still sleeping on or could push for a spot in the college football playoff, and one team that we could see falling out of the top 25 as soon as next week.
We're going to talk about a couple teams with some losses and see how they can get back, the road to get back into the playoff.
Yeah. All right, so starting with me, I think my sleeper team, definitely Wisconsin. Wisconsin, a lot of people were kind of doubting coming in this year, losing Hornibrook, who went to Florida State, I believe. Florida State, yes. But Wisconsin, they have looked very impressive this season. I think this could be a big year for them, and they have the resume to go with it. A couple of weeks, they have number 5 Ohio State at the shoe. This will definitely be a night game, of course, if Wisconsin keeps up their push. And I think Wisconsin is definitely one of the teams that you should watch for if they're on your schedule.
Yeah, I'm going to take another team in the Big Ten East. I'm going to take Iowa. I think Iowa is a team to sleep on, too. I think it's between Wisconsin and Iowa who kind of runs the show in the Big Ten East. I think one of them will come out on top, of course. I'm going to take Iowa. I think they have a chance to win the Big Ten championship this year. I think they're a scary team you got to look out for.
Okay, and we're going to go. We're each going to pick one team that we could see fall out of the top 25 as soon as next week. My team is Michigan. Even though I do think they get it done against Rutgers, I think that could be a close enough game that the committee just kind of throws them out of the top 25. They've had a very unimpressive year so far. They've had close games against teams that they should not even be close with at all. A lot of Michigan fans frustrated. Of course, Charles Woodson on that halftime show against Wisconsin.
Yeah,
he was about to cry. I could tell, definitely in his eyes. I think Michigan falls out of the top 25 this week.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I think Michigan falls out, but I also think that Kansas State falls out and gets replaced by Oklahoma State in this upcoming game this weekend. So another question, I think we'll wrap it up with this final question. So Texas with the loss, of course, against LSU, Notre Dame with the loss against Georgia, and then Oregon with the loss against Auburn. What are those teams like pass to get to the playoff, and who has the best chance really to get to the playoff?
That's hard to say. I think Notre Dame out of those 3 teams is probably the best team, but Texas has the resume left. They can still win these games. Of course, one-loss teams have been famous for getting into the college football playoff. I think Texas could still do it because LSU is still a very good, powerful team. But I wanted to say Notre Dame, but they don't really have the schedule to back it up. So I'm going to go with Texas on this one.
Yeah, so I think Notre Dame's only passed, really to get into the playoff. They definitely have to win this game against Virginia. I think they have to win it big. They also have to win against Michigan and USC. They still have 3 ranked opponents coming up, although I don't think Michigan will be ranked by the time they play them.
No,
I think Oregon's chances are kind of blown out the water a little bit because the Pac-12 is not very strong, although this year there are some competitive teams in that mix. The really only way for Oregon to get there is to kind of control, they really have to control the Pac-12, definitely. I think the greatest chance for a team to get back into the playoff is Texas. I think their biggest opportunity is by beating Oklahoma in the regular season and beating them in the conference championship would really put something in the committee's eyes to maybe look at Texas.
100%. If they could beat Oklahoma twice, that would definitely put them in the conversation.
Yeah, so definitely keep an eye out for Texas and keep an eye out for Notre Dame. I think both of those teams are not done yet. I think Oregon's chances are kind of out the window.
All right, we're going to wrap it up here. If you enjoyed the episode, we're going to link our social media accounts in the description below, and subscribing would mean the world to us. If you enjoyed also, please leave a like, and if you want to join the conversation or have differing opinions than us, you can comment in the comment section below or direct message us on our social media accounts, again in the description. So
yeah, thank you guys for watching. Please tune in next week, same time, Thursday. It probably won't be uploaded until Friday, however.
Yeah, we might we might do an NFL prediction episode tomorrow night.
Yes,
stay tuned. Look out for that. Yes.
Yeah. As always, thank you guys, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.